Hello, everyone. This is Mary Larson, Executive Director of the NAMM Foundation, and welcome to this webinar on making music online, how-tos for private and group instruction. We're so grateful that you're taking some time today to help us and help one another improve our ability to reach people, teach people, and engage with people online as we move through this unprecedented time due to our global health crisis. First of all, I hope you're all doing well and that you are continuing to make music, feel nurtured by the music that you can make, and that your participation today probably comes from a place where you're desiring to stay connected and involved with other people making music. So thank you so much for joining us today. We have to start our webinars where NAMM participates or presents a webinar by reading an antitrust statement, which is part of our NAMM organization requirements. So please indulge me. NAMM has put in place an antitrust policy governing all activity during NAMM-sponsored events. NAMM's antitrust policy covers all participants, including speakers and audience members at NAMM events. Participation in today's webinar must not exchange competitively sensitive information, including information regarding wholesale and retail prices, discounts, credit terms, margins or profits, proposed price increases or decreases, price ranges, price formulas, map pricing, and RPM policies. Thank you for your attention and indulgence as we just have that statement that we need to provide as part of our events. If you seek more information about this, you may reach us at namm.org on our About tab. So what we will be covering today, our webinar is a follow-up to a webinar we had last week where we had over 5,000 participants registered and about 5,000 people joined us. So we felt that there was a real interest and need for people to come together to understand how we can make this transference from in-person music learning and music making, music teaching, to the reality of this time for online music learning and teaching. So what we will cover, and we have a wonderful panel of folks that are gathered, is an overview of the nuts and bolts for providing online music making from people that have made this shift in the last few weeks to providing lessons. We'll hear from some NAMM members who have organized this for their customers, and including teachers and students in this process. We want to share these perspectives from music retail owners, also from some nonprofit providers and organizations that are part of our NAMM network, and also from their music learners. We want to review some of the essentials to ensure a good experience, go over the ways that online music making bridges the return to or supplementing in-person learning, music learning. And we want to provide online music lessons to diverse communities. In other words, this experience is available to people of all ages and backgrounds and experiences, and we want to be sure that that's the perspective that we all can grow from. One thing that we will not do on our webinar, NAMM is not in the position to make specific product or platform recommendations. Our panelists may be able to share what they're currently using, but we've also been referring people to a really wonderful Facebook group, which we'll provide information on. And that's where there's a lot of product demos and subgroups being formed around specific products. So we'll make sure that you all have access to that information. So now I'm thrilled to introduce to you our panel of experts. We have quite a group here gathered online. Each of them have also, I ask as I pass this around, that they would introduce the students and teachers that they've brought with you. Myrna, would you start for us? First of all, introducing yourself and where your company is, and then introduce your student and teacher. Myrna. And be sure to unmute yourself, Myrna.
Unmuting is a good thing. Hi, everybody. My name is Myrna Sislen. I own Middle C Music in Washington, D.C. We just, at this point, Mary, do you want me to tell something about the business or just introduce myself and my
A little bit about your business and then introduce your teacher and student.
Perfect. Uh, Middle C just celebrated 18 years last Sunday. We did not have a party, but we will when this is over. We will party hardy. We are a full service music store. We do lessons, we do rentals, we do retail, or we have done retail until 10 o'clock tonight when we will close at the order of the mayor of Washington, D.C. I was just thinking today while I was doing my jog how clever I was many years ago to understand that it would not work for me to have only one income stream, that it would probably be a good idea to have three, being lessons and retail and instrument rentals. So hopefully we will continue on with our lessons, which we are doing, and I'll get into that a little bit later. And our rentals will continue. So we're still trying to figure out a way to serve our community, which is the most important thing to us, and their musical needs, which at this moment are really paramount because people are stuck at home, of course. I would like to introduce one of my teachers who is participating today. His name is Brock Holmes. Brock has been teaching for a number of years and does piano and guitar. And his student, Marcia Madsen, who is an adult and has been taking the lessons online and is happy. So that's
Perfect.
A very good thing.
Perfect, Myrna. And we'll be hearing from Brock and Marcia as we travel through our discussion. So thank you so much, Myrna. Myrna is also a former board member of the NAMM organization, been a wonderful advocate and working with the DC public schools. And Myrna, we're so grateful for your participation and your ongoing leadership for all of these things. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Miriam and Mike Risko, please share us a little bit about where you're calling from, about your business, and then introduce your students and teacher to us.
Sure, I'm Mike and we have Miriam Risko here.
Hi, everybody.
We own Mike Risko Music and we are in Ossining, New York. We've had our music business for 25 years. And we started with a music school, and 10 years ago, we started retail business also. So we sell online, we do retail, we rent instruments, give lessons. We have about 30 teachers here, and we also do kids musical theater. So our story with this is we started using Zoom about 3 years ago, because one of our teachers was moving to California. And when he was leaving, he said, you know, I wish I could keep working for you guys. This has been a great experience. And that's sort of triggered the idea of trying to do some live video lessons. And so thankfully, we've been doing this for a long time. And my first thought was that we would do more of that in-house and students could stay home and our teachers would come here and teach. But then about an hour later, I realized that nobody can come in the building. So we have everybody working remotely. And that's what we're doing.
And can you introduce your teacher and student to us?
Yes.
Well, so we have Jade Marie Kelb on with us. She is a student of ours for many years, for about 10 years, right, Jade? And she does a lot of things here with us. She studies voice, guitar, piano, and she does all our musical theater productions. And we now have her studying online through live video with us. And so Mike and I we own the school, and we are actually both teachers as well. So we're both acting in both capacities today for this session.
That's terrific. And we'll hear from Jade later as we have our discussion. So thank you so much. And where are you located, Miriam and Mike?
We are located in Ossining, New York, which is about 30 miles north of New York City.
In the Hudson Valley. And
yes.
So thank you so much. So we want to introduce Lindsay Zehren, who is in San Diego. Lindsay, tell us, I already told everyone where you're from, so, but tell us a little bit about your organization and what it does and how you've transferred to online learning. Just a quick update.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. Again, my name is Lindsay Zehren. I'm a neurologic music therapist here in San Diego at Resounding Joy. We're a small not-for-profit music therapy company, and we work with active duty military, first responders, medically fragile children, and we also work with people with Parkinson's, older adults. And last week when we had the stay-at-home order come through, we had to think very quickly. Pardon me. Our owner and operator of our company is on a sabbatical right now. So we had to think as a team and figure this out without her support. And we were able to move about 70% of our business online in 3 days.
Wow. And you're going to have us introduce your student that is with us?
Yes, I'm here with Angel Hendry, and she is a firefighter with Cal State Fire and is in our first responder program.
Great. Thank you so much. And we'll hear more from Angel as we move through the program. And Stephanie Lamond calling from, I'll give it away, Stephanie, the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Tell us about your organization and what you're doing with your online program.
Yeah, so I'm Stephanie. I work for Blue Bear School of Music. We're right in San Francisco, and Blue Bear's been around we're celebrating our 50th anniversary next year. So we're hoping that we can actually celebrate it next year. But I've been here at Blue Bear for about 3 years now, and I run our early childhood program, and recently kind of took over our marketing as well because we're a small nonprofit and someone needed to do it. So, and we kind of have a range of we have early childhood programs all the way up to adult workshops and everything in between. And then for our nonprofit offerings, we have community classes in a bunch of centers around the city and shelters and a robust scholarship program, and all those different stuff. So we started to kind of mostly be affected by this stuff maybe about 2 to 3 weeks ago. We started seeing the huge drop off in people actually coming to classes, but we were kind of slower to get online. And then SF did our first shelter in place ordinance thing about, I think it was on March 16th last week. I looked up that date. So that we moved pretty much, unfortunately, it's really been our community programs that have taken the biggest hit for what couldn't move online. But in terms of our actual brick and mortar school stuff, we've been able to move almost everything online other than the workshops. And my Little Bears program is now 100% online. So that was about, I think similar to Lindsay, it was about 2 days, and we just kind of made it happen. And it's been a whirlwind, but yeah, we did it. So we're still doing it.
That's great, Stephanie. And we want to know more about the nuts and bolts as we move through our conversation. So we're going to jump now to just chatting first with our NAMM members and our retail members, retail music store owners, Myrna, Mike, and Miriam. Because we have a lot of NAMM members on our line here that I think are trying, we have over attending at the moment that really want to know more about your own story and your own experience. When did you kind of realize that, whoa, it was all going to change really fast? You had these vigorous storefronts, a lot of foot traffic in the door. Your employees were there. You were busy, as we know that you certainly can be with these important community services. You've both been in business for a long time. You've built out a lot of success with it. You had to make a decision. When did you realize that it was going to change? It was going to really change fast. I appreciate hearing that from both businesses. Myrna,
would you like me to go first?
Sure.
On March 3rd, I sent an email to all of my teachers and staff. I knew something was coming. And at that point, we made our policy that anyone who came in had to wash their hands before and after their lesson. We had to make sure we have a botanical cleaner that we used to wipe down all of the pianos. We wiped down all of the guitars. I told all of the teachers, if someone comes in and there is any kind of fluid of any kind coming out of any kind of head orifice, send them home. And we started that on March the 3rd. Then from there, and we became very, very careful, started using hand sanitizer, and it wasn't the distancing at that point, of course. It was just the precautions and making sure everything was very clean. Then I had a discussion, it was the Friday before last, with 3 of my teachers, Brock, John Lynn, and one other one, and they said, we have to go online and we have to do this. This was Friday a week. They said, we have to do it on Monday. And I said, okay, we'll do that. As it turned out, they said, no, we actually want to do it sooner than that. I think everyone felt that something had to happen, and something had to happen very quickly. And we started the process Saturday a week ago. At this point, we are now all completely online. I have to say to everybody, if I could, Mary, I was concerned about this. I am a face-to-face person. I am a touchy-feely person. And I was very concerned that this would not be successful. And the very first day that we did this, an adult student actually came to the studio. The teacher was at home. We did the video lesson where she was in the studio. The teacher was at home. She came out of the lesson and she said, that was great. And I thought, okay, we can do this. And from that point, I have to say, we have not had one person who had a video lesson who said, I don't like this, I don't want to continue. The pushback we have had is from people who have not tried it. They are saying that they do not want to try it. We're trying to talk them into doing it, but I have found it has been surprisingly successful for us. We have never done it before. Am I going on too long?
Oh, no, but in a few more words, then we want to move to the Risko. So good, very helpful though.
I have let each one of my teachers who has their own expertise use whatever platform they want. That's what I said to them. Whatever is going to work for you, go ahead and do that. I did an email that everyone can, all of the teachers, and I have 22 teachers, that everyone can access so that they can trade information and help each other. I also have some young techie staff members who have been assisting some teachers who are less tech savvy, and that seems to have worked. Okay, I'm done.
That's terrific, Myrna. I mean, you're sharing us your real story here, a story that never did it online. You were very conscious of what was coming. You were preparing the store, and then all of a sudden you pivoted, but you also used the talent and resources that were right there in your staff, which I think is something that folks that are listening should also really be aware of. There is expertise within your team. Now, are all the teachers currently all teaching online, all 23 of them?
Yes, everybody is teaching online. And
so it was fluid. It just continues.
It was a little wavy. It was,
yeah.
It was, I wouldn't say it was absolutely fluid, but it was a universal, this is what we have to do. Now, I have to admit to you, there is one teacher who does online, but he comes to the store because he's going stir crazy in his apartment. So, but there is not, all of the other teachers are doing it from home.
Okay, great. So let's go to the Riskos who've been at this for a while. Can you just kind of tell us the journey that you decided that it was no more in store? We know we have the New York mandate,
Sure.
right? So just give us a timeline of that and what your decision-making process was.
So, so all non-essential businesses in New York were asked to close on March 21st, which is when they put New York on pause, as they're calling it. But we actually made the decision to close a week earlier. We closed on, I believe it was March 16th. And we actually started canceling all large events the week before. We had we do a lot of big events that bring a lot of people together. Like we had our adult rock band workshop. Showcase was supposed to be on March 12th. We canceled that. We play in a band, and we had a big fundraising gig for our local PTA on March 13th. We actually canceled that also. So we had, and previous to that, we were having people come in and do like a strict hand washing policy and just making sure to communicate with all our customers. But the reason we decided to stop offering any in-house services earlier on was we spoke to multiple doctors that are customers of ours, and we just thought that we really wanted to do our part to help flatten the curve and stop bringing people together. We also just felt like it was really important to protect our staff and our customers, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. So we decided to move to all video lessons, and we kind of did it at the very last minute. You know, as we have said, we've been offering these lessons for a long time, but we decided that Monday on the 16th to just go to all video. And we had to immediately get on the phone and sending emails and letting people know what the steps we were taking to make sure that they got their lessons. And it's taken a little bit of time to get everybody up and running, and we are chipping away at it, but I would say we pretty much have about 75% of our students now on video lessons. And I'm going to let Mike talk now about how we sort of went about that.
Yeah, so we had we have a few rooms in place with the hardware, with the equipment, the computers and the flat screens and cameras and things, as you see. But as I stated earlier, shortly we realized that I was going to make more Zoom, more rooms with this equipment in it, but I realized that really everybody has to stay home. So we're doing everything remotely. We host all the meetings, and our teachers can stay at home, and we can manage everything. And one thing that's been nice is we can pop into any one of the lessons at any given time and help with assignments and material, and just check up on people and make sure things are going well. And one thing that I've been doing is helping our teachers and our students with the technical part of it to make this as good of an experience as it can, because I feel like there's nothing better, of course, than sitting with a person giving a music lesson, because there are no real technical challenges. But if it's done properly, and that has to do with a lot of things, the hardware, what's in the room, background noises, all these things. We've put together a whole list of ways to help everybody get the most out of this that they can. And, I've gotten really good at it. So I have multiple camera angles, and, I'm able to send documents back and forth, share screens, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of our students that are taking lessons are, enjoying the experience.
Mike, we would love to see your how-to guide. We're actually going to be working on a virtual lesson how-to document for our website. We'd love to have your contribution, and you too, Myrna. But I think we want to get to some real nuts and bolts here. Again, I said at the top, NAMM can't make any recommendations for platforms or hardwares. But if I encourage Myrna and Mike and Miriam to do so in this next section, if you'd like. Can you tell us a little bit about what your platforms are that you are using that are effective for where you are locally? I've heard a lot of Zoom there. And what kind of hardware, microphones, USB microphones, cameras, did you actually have to help people with them in their homes? Just kind of take us through that. Whoever would like to start with that.
I can go first if you like. This is Mike. I think one important thing is when talking to your customers, we don't really want to stress people out any more than they already are with telling them that they need to go buy other pieces of hardware. We are using Zoom, but I know there are lots of other platforms as well. And because of this, I've been seeing new companies opening up that are, going to be new competitors in the market. It's interesting, one door closes, another one opens kind of thing. But we sort of let our teachers and customers know that you can use anything from your phone to your tablet to your iPad to your desktop or laptop. They all work. But I think what's important is to get the best experience out of this. There are little things that need to be done. For instance, I'll give you an example. If I have a teacher who's like, well, yeah, I'll just use my phone, it's fine. Now I can hear him and everything fine, but the visual is so important. When you're in a room taking a lesson and the garbage can is in the corner, or whatever's in the room, you're not really noticing that because you're in a real space in a room and you're not focused on that. But when your whole lesson that you're looking at is on a screen, whether it's a phone, laptop, or flat screen monitor, you're really seeing and focusing in on everything. So if I have a teacher in his pajamas who just got up, who's in a room with a bed in the background, and I see his wife's foot, that's not going to work so well. So we try to make those adjustments. I think it's really important to have the visual on the screen look really good. As far as microphones, yes, there are USB mics that you can use to make the sound quality better. And you can invest a lot of money and buy all kinds of equipment and make your audio and video better. And that's one of the things that we're working on now. But I try not to, I try to let our students here know that they can use anything from the devices that they have. And if they want to make it better, they can.
Yeah, very helpful. Myrna, any thoughts about your company retrofitting to make this work for everyone?
Again, I let every one of the, or I let every one of the teachers use the platform that they feel the most comfortable with. And the ones that people have been using have been FaceTime, Zoom, WhatsApp, some have been Skyping. I've gotten word from a number of them as they have sent emails about what works the best. Oh, by the way, I totally agree with Mike about your presentation as you are as a teacher doing the video lesson with your student. Yeah, you need to, if you've got your pajamas on, please accessorize with a scarf so that it looks better for everybody. Also, we ask that a parent make an appearance, if it's a child, make an appearance at some point during the lesson, just so that everyone knows what is happening and they can keep track of that. I have also asked that each of the teachers email very quickly the assignment for the next week. That way that we have a paper trail and everyone knows that they have an assignment so that they are going to be practicing. I think one of our teachers said that what really seems to be working for everybody is the fact of the routine of this, that you want the lesson at the same time, so that even though in a time when we have no routines, this can be a way of keeping a structure. It's a way for the students to stay a little bit focused and stay connected, and that just having the lesson tends to bring joy. So it's those kinds of things. Oh, it was also suggested using earphones or earbuds helps a lot with the back and forth of the sound that is being made. The challenge for us has been mostly with the drum teachers. Some of the platforms do not work as well as others when there is a percussion lesson, when there is a drum lesson. So that has been something of a challenge. Most of the time, people have been able to use their phones and set the phone on the side of the piano, or set the phone, one of the teachers said, be sure to set your phone or your iPad or your laptop so that we can see your hands, because that's very important. I think Brock can go into that more because he has done a wonderful job with being able to communicate with his students in this way. And the assignments, take a picture of, if you don't have the book, I mean, one of our teachers took home about 25 books so that she could have exactly what the student is studying. Have the student take a picture of the music they've been practicing for that week if you do not have that book at your home, so that you can be looking at what they are playing at the same time that they're doing it.
These are just the basics, and we get some very interesting questions that are coming through. And we've also posted the link to that Music Educators Creating Online Learning Facebook page. That information is available in the chat, as well as the Q&A, which we'll follow up with all of you. But thank you, and we hope, we wanted to hear from the perspective of our NAMM members when we thank you so much. But we really want to hear from the perspective of the teachers that are doing this work. I think, Brock, should we start with you? We'd love to hear about your experience in transitioning to this online format, and what has been your experience as a teacher. Would you share with us, Brock?
Yeah, it has been a surprisingly smooth transition. I essentially informed my students on a Thursday that we would be online on Friday. And we then, I then met with them via mostly FaceTime, some Skype, for their regular lessons, and in the process have being online, but also with giving good lessons. So, and I'm just going to sort of go down a list here. First of all, be on time. In other words, don't dial into your lesson 2 minutes late. Dial in at least, right on time. I have been surprised at the number of times that students will call me a couple of minutes early. Secondly, because you're speaking out of a very small window, be really enthusiastic. I try and be much bigger online in terms of gestures and in terms of tone than I would otherwise be, just because I think, because the bandwidth is so small. You need to do that. Third, figure out a way of having the students' music. Because we were so quick, there were a number of volumes that I didn't have to start with. I was able to find some of them online on some shared websites, and others I have purchased online, and I still need to purchase some others. I'm also working with some students that are working with PDFs of their own to scan and send them to me. And so gradually we're equalizing what I have versus what they're doing. I use 2 cameras, one for my face and one for my hands. And I move slightly for guitar versus piano. I'm not sure how effective demonstrating with my hands really is, but I think it's better than not being able to demo at all. And then I think Myrna or Mike said this before, look, for goodness sake, look good on camera. Make sure you have lighting that isn't backlighting. Make sure you've groomed yourself. Make sure you fill the frame. And then in terms of managing student assignments, I ask them to log their own assignments in the books in which I used to write for them. They seem to really like this. And I think it really makes an impression on them that this is an added responsibility for them. And so their practicing is also an added responsibility. I also ask them to restate what their goals are for the week. And then finally, I'm always looking for ways to improve. I haven't figured out what the best platform is. And I'm still working with my students as to the best placement for whatever it is that they're using, iPad or iPhone. And we're still getting better at that. And then finally, should over time the content of the lessons themselves evolve? I kind of think it should, but I couldn't tell you how. And that's kind of what I've been through so far.
That's great, Brock. I think that perspective is very important. The fact that you all made this decision in one day and then you started teaching online. I think we have now, I'd love to hear from the students. And we have students, we have Brock, your student, Marcia. Marcia, what's been your experience with this? And had you had an experience like this before?
Hi, I'm Marcia Madsen. I'm an adult student of Brock's. I live in Washington, D.C., and Middle C music is a staple in our community, and we're almost neighbors. So I found Brock, and my experience with this has been very, very positive. Brock has got this, in my view, he's got it totally rounded up. He knows what he's doing, and he's made it easy. I'm a practicing attorney. I'm a parent. I have 2 teenage males in the house and a husband and a dog. So for me, it was very important not to lose momentum, not to have gaps, but to be able to keep up with my lessons. I'm working from home with all these people around and trying to do all these things at one time remotely. And the probably the best part of my week most weeks is my piano lesson. So the process for doing online has been terrific. We use FaceTime. It works fine. The thing I value is Brock's experience and his tips. I am the child of a music teacher. My mother taught music. She was the president of the Arizona Music Teachers Association at one point. I can hear her talking to me periodically. She'd be, I think, happy with what I'm getting. But to me, it was important to be consistent and to keep making progress. And I really value the communication with Brock. I think we have good communication. He can see what I'm doing. We can talk about it. I'm getting the tips and the instruction that I need, and it's been very smooth. It's been uneventful, and I'm very satisfied with the experience. That might not be, true if I was 6 years old, which I'm not. But where I am and what I need right now, it's been a perfect solution. It's working great, and I would encourage a lot of people to think about doing it.
And I think, Marcia, you're talking about the connection is so important now more than ever, right? And we're getting a lot of comments and a lot of questions. When you have a forum like this, you realize all the things that you're not covering and you're not able to help people with. I want to remind everyone that we are really in sort of a crowdsourcing moment here, and that's why we referred you to the Facebook page. We know that people are helping each other. We don't presume that what we're offering today will answer all your questions, but we hope we can point you in the direction where maybe you can get some of your questions answered. But we have to remember that we really are trying to provide inspiration and support to each other to solve the problems ahead. I think Miriam and Mike, you have your student Jade there. We'd love to hear from Jade.
Hi, I'm Jade Marie. I'm 15, and I've been going to Mike Risko for about 10 years. I do piano, guitar, voice. I've done all their musical theater shows. So I've been there ever since I can remember.
Great. And have you done online lessons before, or is this your first experience?
This is my first experience with the online lessons. Honestly, I think they're really cool. It's something really new to me, but it's a really great experience because it's honestly like very completely different than what face-to-face would be, but it's really fun too at the same time.
So do you feel that you're able to make progress with everything?
Oh, definitely. Because especially now that I have so much more free time than I did when I had all my school and everything wasn't on pause. I have so much more time to practice with the things I learned from my online lesson. So it's helped my progress with learning.
We've had on our webinar last week, we opened up with a bit of a reminder exactly what you're saying. There's people are, especially students, and some adults maybe, but especially our students have a completely different version of time on their hands. Did you find that, Jade? Are you actually practicing more and exploring more things that you can learn in music?
Definitely, 100%. It's given me, especially now that I'm pretty much bored most of the time, it's given me so much more time to practice on what I've been learning for the last how many years. I've definitely felt myself improving, even though it's been such a short time.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we kind of would like to wrap up this section with Myrna and Miriam and Mike and their students. Any more from any of you, and then we want to move on to our nonprofit and our group lesson conversation. Any final comments from any of you?
Sure. This is Mike Risko. So I'd like to add a couple things that that I think would be helpful. Brock made some great comments about having the student be engaged and write the assignment out, which I think is a great idea. One thing that we've been doing is we are able to video record parts of the lesson. I don't think it's necessary to record the whole lesson, but I have the recording feature set up while I'm teaching. So if I'm going to demonstrate a scale or a piece of music or a technique, I can record those snippets. And there's a way to do it where you can record 10 different little sections or however many you want. And it comes out very smooth in one email. So I receive that link, and then that's what I send to the student after. So I write an assignment in an email, and then I grab the video and I send that off to them. If I teach a group of maybe 5 people, I do the same thing. I record the video, write the assignment out, and then send a combo email of the video and the written assignment to the students. You know, we also sell books. So we ship out books to the teachers if needed, or to students. And the other thing that's great about the platform we're using is we can share the screen, so I could pull up a video or an audio song to show them if we're working on a piece of music. And the way that we use this here is we hold the accounts, and we can, if you notice one of those pictures, the last screen, there was 3 of us. So I was just checking up on the teacher and the student, and then I can kind of pop in. So if I have 8 lessons going simultaneously, I'm managing all the accounts. So as the owner, I'm a teacher and an owner, as well as Miriam. So we're able to jump on the computer, see all 8 lessons that are in progress simultaneously, and stop into each lesson to see how people are doing. And I find that to be really helpful. So I'm still able to manage just like I was here. Instead of walking up and down the hallway and going in and out of lessons, I'm able to do the same thing through this program. The other thing that we do is we have a lot of band classes. So we have adult rock band classes, and the same for kids. And what I'm able to do now is do one-sided recordings for people. So I could, just be by myself here in the music school and record things for the students to work on and send them out.
So essentially you're creating sort of a music -1 experience, right?
Exactly, right. So we've tried to just mirror everything that we do here through this platform, but being able to stop in on the lessons has been really important. And some of the features on some of these platforms enable you to set the meetings up in different, the meeting would be the lesson, to set it up in different ways. For instance, we are able to allow the student to join the meeting before the teacher. So if the student comes in 6 minutes before and the teacher comes in 3 minutes before, nobody's wondering about what's going on. They're sort of in this waiting room area, and then they'll connect.
So Mike, can I ask you to go onto that Facebook page and maybe set up a little forum for folks to interact with you? Would you mind doing that?
Sure.
I think that would be great. And I think for the school educators, if they are with us on the phone, to be sure that you're inviting your supervisor or your school administration onto one of your online lessons or online experiences, so they can see, how dedicated you are to this work in this time and how you're connecting. I read an article just recently, and we want to be sure to share it on our networks, how vital it is to students that their teachers are connecting with them in every means, where there's not bandwidth, it's a phone, if it can be via online learning or online connections, and we know how important music is to this. So I want to thank all of you, Middle C Music, Risko Music, thank you so much for being with us. I want to jump now to our nonprofit organizations.
Thank you, Mary.
Lindsay and Stephanie, thank you so much. So Stephanie, let's start with you, and then Lindsay, we'll go to you, but how quickly did you have to make, I think you mentioned it briefly, what did you have to consider to put, especially with the little teenies, you're working with really tiny, what did you have to do to make this work for everyone, and how did you share your decision with your customers?
Yeah, to make that decision, it was hard. I wish we had I don't know why we didn't act sooner. Like when I listened to Miriam and Mike talking about how you guys did this a week in advance, I really wish we'd kind of had I think we were just hoping it wouldn't happen. And so when our shelter in place rolled out and we were kind of forced to close, we were kind of in the mindset previously that we just weren't in the financial position to close, that we just couldn't close. And then when it became out of our control, it kind of actually became a lot easier. And so we were lucky. My colleague and I, Tennessee, we're kind of on the millennial side of our staff, and our bosses just let us go with it. And so our workflow was just, because it was no longer a question of could we or could we not. It was like we have to. So our Tennessee was calling everybody individually, all the students and teachers, just to kind of talk to them and see what they were comfortable with, kind of let them know we were in this with them, and see what platform they wanted to be using. And then he would pass them off to me, and I was making Zoom accounts for everybody. And as of now, we're benefiting from that Zoom has lifted their 40-minute limit for their free accounts. So eventually I think we will move on to something closer to what the Riskos are doing, where we have that one hosted thing. But kind of in the desperation of the day, we just made everybody their own accounts, and I have all the passwords, and I can get into all of them. But yeah, we kind of did. And then I was communicating with my early childhood program, just like really constantly in emails with the parents and just checking in and trying to over communicate rather than less. And then, but we were lucky that everybody was in the same boat of just rolling with it and realizing that this was, I think what helped us is that our communication too was very, we were super transparent with everybody, just that this is, we're learning this as we go too, and just thank you for your compassion and your patience. And everybody kind of was able to go into that team mindset. And so everybody, it was a pretty smooth transition of once everybody knew we were on their side, we were just helping them create what would work best for them. And so it was, yeah, I think it like 1 p.m. we got that shelter in place notice, and we were able to have lessons up by Tuesday morning we had going. And then there was no, for the Little Bears ones, I just created all the Zoom links Monday night, got on with all my teachers and sent the links out to the parents, and they were able to log in the next day and do it. So I think it might be, I don't know if it's just a San Francisco privilege as well, but we all were, a lot of the, at least parents in my program, were already very prepared that everybody, at least in my program, we haven't really had a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Just friction in getting anybody able to get on with devices at home. They've kind of been able to figure their own situations out, and it's been pretty okay. So I think as we go and it's less of that initial desperation too, we'll start looking at things like recommendations for cameras and building out our home setups and everything. But for right now, everybody was just able to hop on and start doing it. And then, and again, for our private and our group lessons, it was that one-on-one with the teachers. What do you feel comfortable using? How can we help you? And as of now, a few people started on other platforms like Skype and FaceTime, but pretty much all our teachers have moved to Zoom by now. So I've been setting up accounts for everybody.
I like what you said really about everybody kind of pulling together. And as I'm watching our comments, as people are looking for answers, and just encouraging us to help one another. We're really not going to get to all the experiences we want to have people to have during this time unless we are all really pulling together and helping one another. Again, we keep pushing onto that Facebook group. But Lindsay, I'd love to hear too, how were you able to make this transition? You deal with, you were essentially a music therapy program, if I'm correct, and you're dealing with a lot of diverse audiences. How was that quick flip transition for you, and what have you decided to use to make it work for you?
Yeah, it was a super quick transition, something that we weren't all 100% comfortable with for sure, because it had to happen really quickly. And I'm not very tech savvy. So I was, I think someone mentioned earlier that they were worried about it working. And I was very, very concerned about it working, especially for some of our groups. The picture that's up on the screen now on the left is one of our first responder groups. And this program had we just started our third pilot group for this group, and it's working on stress relief and anxiety reduction for first responders. And especially during this time where they're still having to work, levels of stress and anxiety are a lot higher. So my concern for this group and for all of our other groups in the first moment was just how can we support people? So I wasn't worried about what equipment do we have, is it going to be a good picture, anything like that. I wasn't worried about that at the beginning. I was worried about providing support for people right away, because this is a scary situation. And as a music therapist, we're looking not just at the music that people are making, but how is that music serving them? So I met with my team one more time in person it was 2 weeks ago on Thursday. And it was before any of the stay-at-home order or anything, but we just got together and talked about how we could do this. We practiced it together. And by Monday morning, we were all online as much as possible. And we're either doing groups like you see here on the screen or individual sessions. We have our medically fragile kids group. We were able to move online as well using Zoom and opening up the page so that you can see all of the different screens that people are on, so we can watch what's happening in the screens and see all the parents making music with their kids and dancing and having fun, like in this video right here. So this is what we really wanted to do and get going quickly. The amazing thing that's happened from all of this is that we didn't realize how much of a need there was for our medically fragile pediatric program. And we actually have had, yesterday we had 82 families call into our group, and it was international. So we had people calling from different countries that didn't know us at all and that didn't know that this was available. So it kind of opened up some new doors to us as a company, which was really, really exciting. And on the call for first responders, we had people calling in from other fire stations that we hadn't met before. So more people are getting the opportunity to experience music therapy and to see how music can really benefit themselves at a time when I feel like they need it the most.
Yes, you've emphasized again the beauty of this connection and why music is so valuable. Stephanie, I'd love to go back to you for a minute. How are you managing it with these little ones? I mean, what is the age group that you're working with Little Bears?
We start at 4 months and we go up to 5. So we break it up in kind of walking to 4 months to walking to 3, and then 3 to 5, and then they're mixed age classes. So, but a lot of them are kind of rolling out to being mixed age classes because there are siblings at home, and we're kind of saying kind of back to that as a resource too. I think everybody is just craving, 1, connection, and 2, just something to do to break up their day and a way to keep music in their lives. So we're just kind of welcoming everybody in, whoever's at home, come on in and do the lesson. And so since we're using Zoom, everybody's kind of those little thumbnails or whatever they choose. And we're kind of we're still trying to get parents to be comfortable unmuting so the teacher can still have that back and forth with the students. But yeah, we're rolling it out, but as of now, the parents have kind of been the most entertaining aspect of all this because they're just so excited for the children. I know for the really littles, there's a lot more distractions at home, so it's been a little bit more challenging, but if only just in how we prep the parents. So we're just trying to communicate with them more so than less, explaining why their space has to be clear to make sure that there are as little distractions as possible. And just trying to mimic the classroom and getting creative with, because we'd have sticks and shakers and our other props in class. So kind of coaching parents on how to be creative with stuff at home, like get a vitamin bottle or a pot and a pan for a drum. And then we're sending links out for them if they want to buy their own stuff. So it's all kind of DIY at this point, but that's kind of the general gist.
Stephanie, if I can, this is Lindsay again, just to talk about the instruments. One of the things that we've done for our kiddos, I have a 2-year-old at home, so I have the unique perspective of being a parent and a music therapist of small children.
Perfect.
And yeah, so I do every morning at 8:30 a.m. on our Facebook page for Resounding Joy, we do a live demonstration of making an instrument from something you have at home.
Ooh.
So we've done that every day, and we have had so many people come on and post pictures of the instruments afterwards and stuff. But there are some great instruments that you can make, and it's fun to see the kids using those instruments then in the sessions.
That's fantastic. I'm going to get on that and share that to my little ones. That's fantastic. What a good resource. That's awesome.
Already we have some crowdsourcing and resources. Wonderful. I think also that you still operate very professionally with your customers, right? There's a set time, there's an appointment, right?
Yeah. So especially for Little Bears, we've just kind of kept our same times, but what the plus of that is that now sites are not an issue. So whereas someone that it's neighborhood specific at 10 a.m., they can now try the other class at 10 a.m. And now after this, we're going to be looking at opening up new times, and we're set to start our spring session in a few weeks. And now we're thinking, can we open up Saturday sessions that we didn't have previously, or afternoon ones? And so, but as of now, we've just stayed to the same times, and there's more flexibility in that. But the schedule remains, and so I think that's also, I've gotten feedback that that's helpful for the families too.
Now, I know we would all love to have a visit with one of your students, Stephanie, one of those little babies. That would, but we know where they need to be at this moment. But Lindsay, you have a couple of your students with us, right? Angel and Carl?
I just have Angel with us here today.
Okay. We'd love to hear from Angel. Angel, are you with us? Hi, Angel. Remember to unmute. I hope we still have Angel with us.
While we're waiting for her to come on, she is a firefighter here in San Diego, and I wanted her perspective because she started the group in person and then moved to online. So she had that. She's been in the group in both settings.
Angel, are you with us now?
Oh my God, hold on.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Hi, how are you?
You're good. Yeah, we'd love to hear about your experience with having this, the great experience with Lindsay and her team, and how it's transitioned from in-person to online and what your experience is.
Well, so like Lindsay was saying, we had one meeting where we got to gather all together, where we had the instruments that we got to use hands-on, which I loved personally because I got a drum, and that was a lot of fun for me. So by the second week is when we had our shelter-in-place order, which was kind of tough. So that's how we did our first meeting through Skype, I think it was, and we did it at all of our prospective fire stations. And I was a little hesitant because I really enjoyed the actual physical instrument, but it ended up working really well because we used our desks and our hands, and we just made our own drums, and then we came up with our own beats. And so the transition actually wasn't hard. It was the beginning where I wasn't too keen, but once we started, it was great, and there was no hesitation and no difficulties, and it was actually very enjoyable.
And so, first of all, we're so grateful for what you do every day in your life as a first responder. Can you tell us a little bit how in that role you're supporting your community now and how what you know about?
So just a little background. The reason my department, because I work for the state of California, we're the state's fire department. So anytime you see those big wildland fires running around the state of California, that's us, that's me, that's my department. So we are on duty for weeks on a time during the summer. And so we get real burnt out, no pun intended. But this actually started 2.5 years ago where unfortunately I lost my partner at work to suicide. And then a month later, I lost a coworker tragically in a fire. And unfortunately, well, that whole situation was unfortunate, but the good that has come out of that is one of the gentlemen who was lost, his wife started a foundation to help us as first responders, and that's how we got started. And when you do what we do every day, day in, day out, sometimes for weeks at a time, it really can wear you down emotionally and physically. So by having this, and having it come to us where we don't have to drive out on our days off or go anywhere, where this program is available to us in our fire station, in our comfort zone, it's quite fantastic, actually. It helps us relax. It helps us breathe. It helps us come up with different avenues to release some of the stress that we deal with on a daily basis. And it's been a pretty phenomenal thing for us here at the fire station.
That's wonderful. And I don't know if you all know, but my internet completely stopped, but I was able to find you back again. So here I am. And I think we're reminded of what music means for all of our students, all of our families, all the folks that we're trying to support through this time. And thank you for sharing that with us. We have moved very quickly through this hour, but it has been an hour, and I want to be really respectful of everyone's time. We would like to big shout out and big thanks. If you're in your home, 500 of you start clicking or clapping. Big thanks to our wonderful panelists. We thank you so much for sharing your time with us and helping us understand how you have been able to make this transition to their nonprofit leaders and everything that you are doing for our teachers and students everywhere. Remember, we don't have the answers, but we are a forum to help you figure it out. That's really our goal. And we will want to stay connected as we move through this time together. So we thank you. This webinar is being recorded and will be available. Our webinar last week is also available. And remember the Facebook page where folks are sharing and creating subforums and subgroups to really help advance this work together as we move through our time with our global health crisis. We wish you all the very well. I thank to our NAMM Public Affairs team. We're working up now, trying to get to use the hashtag wherever we go. If you have something interesting posted or can share a video or share techniques, Music is Life. We'd like to move this around and help us promote these good ideas everywhere. Special thanks to our panelists. We'll let you all go now and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Be well. Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.